Good morning. It's
Good
Mal with Nifty
morning.
Culture. I'm here with Ashley NFT. How are you?
I'm awesome. How are you?
I'm great. I couldn't be better. I missed out on Art Basel, but the team was there. They're all flying back, and but I'm feeling a lot better and excited to talk to you. We've been planning this for a little while to talk about your background in NFTs and your upcoming projects. So thank you for your patience with us.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me. I love NFT culture. I love what you guys do. This is just such an honor to be here.
No, absolutely. And it's, when we found you, you were listening to our spaces with Lauren, and I just started clicking around and saw that you didn't even ask. I was like, hey, look, the Sleepwalkers project looks really incredible. And when you start thinking about some of the mindfulness and some of the elements of that, we'll get to that in a few moments. But I'd love to just start with your background and how what got you into art, and then what brought you into NFTs, and then we can go into the project.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I would say I'm a lifelong artist. Like I've been making art my whole life, and I've attempted to manifest art in all the careers I've had. So I've been a clothing designer, I've been a jewelry designer. I currently am a hairstylist. I own a hair salon in the beautiful San Francisco Bay Area. And I've done really well in those careers. I've mastered those careers, particularly the one I'm in now. And um throughout COVID, it gave me that nice long pause I think we all needed, right? And um it gave me time to reflect, and I just started making art as like a cathartic, expression of what was going on in my brain. And what I found was that it was really good for my healing. And I kind of just left it there. I never thought it would be something that was brought. I never thought I'd show it to anyone outside my family, let alone like be selling these as NFTs on the internet. Um, and then backed up a little bit. I've been in the crypto space for a long time. I'm a long time Bitcoin, you know, buyer holder, even dipped into leverage trading.
Oh, wow.
And I I did really well, and I'm grateful for that. But then I decided, okay, it's time to hold and just let that rest. And frankly, I was a little bored, and so I started digging around. Like, what NFT was a buzzword, so I wanted to know more about it. And eventually I landed in the discords and on Twitter, and got into the metaverse and was like, this place is nuts. I love what this is doing for me on like a personal escapist level. um, and I started buying and collecting, and I sort of started following people in the space that I thought were doing cool things. And I landed in the discord of this person, Mule Man. Are you familiar with him?
I am. Yes.
And I just bugged him, like, I stalked him hardcore, was like, please teach me how to do this. Like, I kind of used him as a lifeline.
Right.
And he was like, listen, there's not a ton of women in the NFT space, which I actually know now. There are an amazing group of women in the NFT space. But he was like, I think, we should do a female led project. And I was immediately on board. And then I said, well, wait, I'm also an artist. Do you want to see what I do? And I showed him like my first sort of sleepwalker version that I had done. And he was pretty blown away. And I was like, I think I get generative, and I think I can do this. Give me some time. And he just left me alone, and I did it. And we've got, an incredible dev behind us, and it's been great. Lots of learning along the way and some mistakes made, but yeah, that's where we are now.
That's awesome. And there's definitely like going back to the women and NFTs, like there's we can always have more diversity and inclusion, but when we were at NFT NYC, there, and this isn't an excuse for anybody, but it was interesting because Gary Vee was doing a fireside chat, and we were watching, and a question came up about how do we increase the diversity in the space, and Gary Vee asked every female in the audience or to stand, and he said, "See, look, like there's not enough women in here, but there's way more women that are in here than there would have been if it was a Web 2.0 conference in the early days. And so it's exciting for me, just to think of, like, we're off to it's not great, but we're off to a better start than tech was, 10 years ago. And then when you look at some of the numbers behind, like the age gap, between, like, I think 18 to 24-year olds that are into NFTs, male and female, it's not far off. It's just every other
Yeah.
age group is dramatically far off. And so I love, talking to these projects. We are really good friends with the NFT goddesses. Tina Eisen was
Oh, I love
on
them.
earlier. Yeah, they're awesome. And so we're doing everything that we can to provide a medium and an audience to make sure that we provide that. But that's not, I mean, that's not the core thing of what we do. It still has to be great art, great storytelling, Doc's team, and all those things. And so, when we started chatting, and the message behind your project, I got incredibly excited.
Yeah, and I think, for me, like a bit of my backstory, I have 3 years sober. I've struggled with mental health, anxiety, depression, and I speak openly about that because I know I'm very much not alone in this space, or in the world for that matter. And what I've found is that the women I've connected with in the space and many of the men have been able to not only stand behind me advocating for that, but also kind of like join in pushing mental health forward in the space. Because I've also realized there's so much fatigue around what we
Yeah.
do in the metaverse. Like a friend of mine said yesterday, I work 24/7, but it's because I'm doing something I love. But that also leads to so much, like, it's just a lack of self-care. And so it's been really neat to kind of push forward mental health in a space like this because we need it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I don't talk about it often, but, I have anxiety. I'm neurotic. I've suffered depression before. I'm not afraid to admit, like, I see therapists, like, and it's important for, like, we don't have these conversations often, and
Right.
everyone thinks they have to be strong and they have to be perfect, but sometimes it's okay, and it's not being weak, but it's okay to be vulnerable and realize that you're not. You can't be infallible 100% of the time. And then you add in social media, then you add in everything else. It's exhausting, the society that we've built for ourselves.
Well, and these little buzzwords in the metaverse, like, oh, the FOMO is real, but the way that often translates is I have so much FOMO, I'm going to stay up for 24 hours so I don't miss anything. And then I'm not going to eat well, I'm not going to sleep. And then the burnout, how many of my friends in this space have said, like, I actually have to turn off for like 3 days because I'm maxed out. And it's not often in the world you see that in people's chosen hobbies.
Right.
It's like you're
Yeah.
just burned out. And so it's been cool to sort of advocate for that. And we're also partnering with a rad, we're not actually, sorry, we're not partnering. I can't say that for tax reasons, but we will be donating 20% of the proceeds from Sleepwalkers to Write Love on Her Arms. They're an incredible nonprofit organization that advocates for mental health, educates on suicide, addiction. They're just incredible.
That's awesome. And I think, like, that's one of the things that I think is, like, there what's really tough about NFTs is it does have a lot of the entanglements of the negative aspects of social media. So on top of just being on 24/7, which is exhausting, like, I recommend all the time, like, if for whatever reason you take a day off or 3 days off, and which everyone should, don't go back and try to get on the bus that already left. With NFTs, there's going to be another bus, and so, like, I find that I am afraid to take time off because I'm afraid that I'm going to miss something. And then if I take time
Yeah,
off, I'm working twice as hard to find out what I missed and make sure I don't miss something else. Ignore the stuff you miss. There's more than enough stuff out there to catch up
I
on.
so agree. Like, and sometimes the thing you missed, it's okay to miss it,
Yeah.
right? Like you can kind of watch. Like I think everybody's waiting for the next blue chip, but it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. The 17th koala, there will be an 18th and 19th koala. Don't worry.
Yes, yes, that's right.
All right, so your project. Let's talk about
Yes.
Sleepwalkers. Let me pull it up for a second.
Yeah.
Start talking about it while I pull it up.
All right. So Sleepwalkers, Sleepwalkers began as sort of my attempt to get what is in my subconscious, sort of that meditative dream state, out on paper, out on my iPad, right? And the thing about it for me was that it might look kind of pretty on the outside, but it was like an intense kind of going inward for me. So even though they might look similar and there's this serene aspect to it, a lot of it contains kind of the crunchy, bristly parts of my subconscious. Um, and the art itself was just kind of me getting what's in here out here, if that makes sense. Um, I meditate a lot, and a lot of this was sort of born in those conscious states between here and like maybe the out there. And so that was really beautiful for me to work on this.
It's funny
And I
because,
wanted, oh, sorry, go
oh,
ahead.
sorry, no, go. I
No,
was
go ahead.
just going to add to that, like, there's, when you kind of let yourself be vulnerable and your mind wander, like that's when you become your most creative. Like, there's a lot of different stories about whether you call it the muse or anything else, but if you don't let yourself explore and you don't let the whether it's whatever you believe in, a muse or your creative process, kind of take hold, if you don't let go, you can't find that extra creativity. And so that's pretty cool that you're able to go to that realm and bring some of that back, to create the
Yeah.
pieces that you do.
And, I wanted to sort like, once I did the first, and then I got really like, the concept of generative made me so like excited isn't even enough to encompass how I felt, because I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much more in here that I can then get out. Um, and then once I started realizing what it was doing for me, like this healing, catharsis, then I realized like, oh, well, now I can actually talk about the healing, and maybe that'll bridge, create a bridge for me to talk about this with other people that are experiencing similar things.
I love it. I mean, going through this, and not everyone does. And for the ones that don't have to go through some of this, you're very, very lucky. But
Yeah,
this is one
bless
of
you.
the, yeah. But when you talk about the things that make it, so moving away from the things that make NFTs bad, and social media bad, the things that make NFTs good is the sense of community, the Discord that you found, the Discord that we have, the spaces that, they've got the meditative space, they've got the marketing help space, they've got so many, they've got alpha spaces, and they've
Yeah.
got all these different things that can be created. And with this, you're actually creating a community for people that are willing to kind of be vulnerable, to share that they have experienced that. And maybe they don't experience that, but maybe they know someone that experiences that. And by supporting this, they can come in and ask questions and help their loved ones. There's just a million different ways you can take this. And so I'm really inspired just by, when people talk about utility and roadmaps, it's always like, if 100% sells out, we're making a Disney movie and a video game, where like it's like this is
Totally.
like, let's just do something right for the world, and make it about, being healthier, happier human beings in this connected NFT meta society that we have.
Yeah, we're trying. And there's some other really cool projects out there that are doing rad stuff that I want to collaborate with. But this has just been like, I can't believe this, even looking at this site on the screen, like that we're here and that this gets to be a thing. I'm feel so privileged to have been able to work on this.
That's awesome. And so we aren't launched yet. It is launching, I believe, in 2 weeks.
December 17th. Yeah,
December 17th, and you're going to have 8,888.
that's right.
And what have you decided the mint price yet?
Yeah, it's
Oh, there it is.
0.0588. Yeah.
Is there any meaning behind that number?
So originally, so we did a launch very prematurely back in October, and originally it was 0.0888, and it was just the eight number. It's like infinite, kind of infinity symbol. And as you know, Ethereum's gone up quite a bit since then, so we just didn't want to price anybody out, and so we chose a number that we felt would be reasonable, yet also allow us to achieve the things on our roadmap.
That's awesome. And yeah, I love that people are figuring like it doesn't have to be set in stone, and people like get stuck to their things, their wills and their ways. And one of the things that's really tough for a lot of projects, and it's the kiss of death in most cases, is that people think that yes, we do think in ETH, but yet we still have to. It's funny. A lot of people think in ETH until the gas price comes up, and they're like, "Oh, wait a second, the
Yeah.
gas price is in USD, and it affects everything." And so when ETH is on a tear, NFTs do really well when Ethereum is between 2,500 and 3,500. But
Yep.
now we've been out of that 3,500 realm for a while, and you saw the market die for
Oh
a
yeah.
while, and now it's back. Like people are getting used to it again. But I think that the price point on this is great. I love 8888. I love 888, but I also love this. Talk about the roadmap. What do you guys plan to do
Yeah.
after this?
Okay, so one of the big things is obviously the proceed 20% proceeds going to Write Love on Her Arms. And I love them as an organization. Thank you. And so I want to continue to work with them after. I don't want to just give them the money and be like, okay, cool, that was fun. So that's a big personal piece for me. Another part is that any holders that hold an NFT ending in 888, so there will be 9 of them in the collection, will be gifted $10,000.
Oh
And
wow.
if they want time with me to kind of strategize what to do with that, like, do they have a I want to make myself available. If you want to just take the money, that's fine. But I want to give access to myself because I've learned a ton on this journey and I want to pass that along. Um, and then another huge goal, which will be so the $10,000 and this next goal will be upon sellout. So in order to do these things, we need to sell the project out. But this last piece is we're going to open a gallery space in San Francisco, and the goal there is to merge, sort of like we were talking about in the beginning, like merge these worlds of traditional art and artist communities and the NFT space. So a few things we have planned are sort of digital ways to display NFT art exclusively and then just get people in the traditional art format, and then use it as an educational platform to bring them into the space. We also want to allow other artists that can access the Bay Area to come and show their work, and just, again, bridge the space, bridge the gap between art and NFT.
Sorry, I was DMing someone because it's important, and we'd love to as you're exploring that piece of it. Obviously, Black Dove is our official display provider, and I know a few other display providers as well. I'd be happy to connect you with
Ah,
them.
yes.
Everyone in the space is incredibly great with that, and I think like that's going to be the big thing. It's just like physical art. People like the physical art and to be able to touch it, but when you see something on an immaculate screen,
Yes.
and it's one thing to like flip your Samsung sideways and actually like have like professional screens that are displaying this art.
Yes.
And it does start telling a story. And if the truly beautiful pieces of art like Nest Graphics, some of Fewocious's art,
Oh,
Tina
yeah.
Eisen's lips, like they
Yes.
pop so well on these screens.
Yes.
I
I
uh,
love
I
it.
love it, and I joke. I always say that I want to start like a sushi restaurant because I have a board ape that's like a dead. It's the orange background and it's a dead sushi with a dead ape sushi with a sushi hat, and like
So
now I
good.
it's awesome, but like what I really want to do is like start like an NFT gallery, but then why not just call it NFT culture?
Yeah.
But I think that like having my ultimate goal is to have like a creative space where it's a gallery, but it's also a space that artists, physical and digital, can come together and postulate and just hang out and get to know each other. That would
Yes.
be a big dream of mine.
Yes. I'm
It's
in.
awesome.
I'm coming.
Yeah, yeah, Texas and San Francisco.
Yeah.
Um, so, I mean, that's awesome. And when you think about all of the aspects that you've been thinking about, where can collectors come and find you? Where can they learn more about your mission? Do you have the Discord up already? I have
Yeah.
your Twitter up on the screen. I'll switch back and forth to the website. How can everyone learn more?
Yeah, so sleepwalkersnft.com is going to give you a little bit of information. And there's also great information in our Discord, also Sleepwalkers NFT. And you can find all those links on our Twitter.
Awesome. I
Yeah.
appreciate you coming on, and we're going to have you on Spaces again as we get closer to the drop. Just because, with everything moving a mile
Yeah.
a minute, it feels like your drop is like 3 years from now, even
I
though
know.
it's
I'm like, what
only a
is
couple weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah, that's
Thank you
awesome.
so much for taking the time. This was such a joy.
No, thank you so much, and everyone, make sure you follow Ashley NFT, sleepwalkersnft.com. Everyone, have a good one. Thank you so much.